Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Ronman here as always, and today I'm going to be taking a look at some Super Nintendo games that I fucking hate. Hate's a strong word. Not strong enough for these fucking pieces of shit. Now, all the games on this list, minus one, are games that I actually hated in the 90s as a kid. They're not games that I just saw on someone else's video and thought, I hate that game too, yeah. They're actually games I truly hated in the 90s, and I wondered if video game collecting was worth it. It is worth it. I love collecting video games. Now, as I go through the list, I'm obviously going to be talking about the games, but I'm also going to offer up a few anecdotes on my experiences with the games. So without further poo-poo, the first game on the list is Beethoven, the Ultimate Canine Caper. So this is the only game on the list that I did not play as a kid, and thank my chainsaw. Now, a few years back when I was regularly streaming on Twitch, I had a habit of ending the stream with these shitty video games. So for the last 10 or 15 minutes, I'd pop in what I just assumed would be a garbage video game, I'd play it, and we'd all have a good laugh. And Beethoven, of course, was one of those games. Now, I wasn't even too sure if this game sucked. Normally, the really bad games you've heard of. So I popped it in, and it did not disappoint. Well, maybe it did disappoint. I guess it depends on how you look at it, but it didn't disappoint as far as giving us what we wanted, and what that was a shitty game. In Beethoven, the objective here is to save your puppy family. So each level has two stages. The first stage has you traversing right to save the puppy, and the next stage has you traversing right with the puppy. The gameplay is not fun. The graphics look like ass. There's no depth to this game at all. Now, the one thing with good video games, you know, Mega Man X, Castlevania 4, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, all these good games, there's depth. They have unique mechanics, and they all have a certain layer of depth that you notice the more you play it. With Beethoven, you know, it was just a quick cash grab. They just whipped together something quick. There's no depth to it. Like I said, it looks like shit. It sounds like shit. It's not fun. I actually beat this game on stream because I played it for that 15 minutes, and we all had a good laugh, and then my viewers were like, you gotta beat it, you gotta beat it. And, well, I gave them what they wanted. Yeah, so, Beethoven, the Ultimate Canine Caper. Don't get this game. Avoid it. The next game on the list is Mario is Missing. Now, I'm not going to explain what this game is. We all know what it is. We all know why it sucks. But to give you a funny story, I was about 7, and I had a childhood friend. His name was Glenn. He was like my childhood best friend, and he had a cousin named Leonard. And we went over to Leonard's house one afternoon, and I saw Mario is Missing amongst all his Super Nintendo games, and I fucking lost my shit. Like, I fucking had an anal fucking ejaculation. I was so excited. I wanted to fucking play this game. I'm a huge Mario fan. I love Mario. And I really like Luigi. In fact, when I would play Super Mario Bros. 3 or Mario World, a lot of the times I would put it on 2 players, kill off Mario, and just play the game as Luigi. I was a big Luigi fan. So we popped the game in, and I had to ask one simple question to everyone in the room. Why? What the fuck is with this game? What? Like, I don't even have words. Right now I don't even have words to explain how I felt. It was like... It's like when you're in school, and you hear that the prettiest girl likes you, and then it turns out your friends are just fucking with you. That's the feeling that I had putting this game in. It was awful. So disappointment was how I ended my visit with Cousin Leonard. Moving on to Super Alfred Chicken. Back in the 90s, the only way for me to get new games was to trade in games I already had. So I remember we went to our local game store, and I brought in Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, and Final Fantasy 4. And I traded them all in, and I got Super Alfred Chicken. And I got home, and I remember as soon as I popped it in and started playing, like maybe 5 seconds into playing, I was like, fuck! Because I just knew that I got fucking ripped off and this game was fucking garbage. This was one of those games that I just made fun of for like the rest of my life, Super Alfred Chicken, because it was such a fucking awful experience. But because I traded in 3 amazing games for this, I would force myself to play this and try to like it because I knew that I had given up 3 really good games for Super Alfred Chicken. I just kind of wish my mom would have stopped me in the game store and been like, hey, listen, Ronnie. You're about to trade in Super Mario, Zelda, and Final Fantasy for a game called Super Alfred Chicken. I might have been like, yeah, that does sound fucking stupid. And the controls suck. Again, the graphics suck. Everything about this sucks. It's just not fun. It doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't control very well. It's just not fun. So, Super Alfred Chicken, don't play this game. And if you do, think of me. Next up is Spider-Man X-Men Arcade's Revenge. Now, back in the 90s, we had a friend named Justin, and he had a single mom, and his mom never supervised us, and she would let us sleep over, and there would often be like 5 of us, and we would just be up all hours of the night playing video games. And Spider-Man X-Men was one of those games that we played that he had, and I remember when we first popped it in, I thought it looked okay. We couldn't even beat the first level, but he lent the game to me, and I went home and tried to play through it a little bit more, but yeah, this game sucks. The graphics are okay, the music is... the music starts off okay, and then I just stopped giving a shit about it. I don't particularly enjoy the animations. I mean, Spider-Man runs around like a douchebag. But the first level has you, I think, disarming bombs in a very particular order, but they seem kind of all over the place. I don't know, it just isn't fun. Then you beat that level, then you get to play as the other X-Men. And yeah, the levels, they're not fun, they're hard too. They're way too hard, they're not fun. It's just not a good experience. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of superheroes. The only exception is the TMNT, but some people don't even consider them superheroes. But other than the TMNT, not a superhero fan. And so the fact that we're playing as Spider-Man and X-Men doesn't do it for me. But if the game's good, I'll stick with it. But yeah, it's just not a good game. It's a game that I've always tried to steer people away from. Spider-Man X-Men, don't play it. Not good. Back in the 90s, I was a huge Ren and Stimpy fan, and I would watch Ren and Stimpy almost every night during the week. And when we were at the retro game store, I saw Ren and Stimpy Vidiots, and I got excited because I love the show. This game's probably going to be fun. Nope. So again, we have another shitty game based off of a popular media, and it was a fucking terrible game. Again, no depth. You just walk right. In the first level, you're walking through a house. I think Stimpy is supposed to be like an exterminator, and Ren dresses up as a mouse, I believe, and it's just not fun. It's stupid. It's kind of difficult. It's not the hardest game, but as a kid, I never got past the second stage where you're inside of Stimpy's gigantic mouth with a million teeth. It's just not a fun game. Again, the music, the controls, everything. It's just like Beethoven. It's just a shitty game with very little effort put in, and I fucking hated this game. There are a few other Ren and Stimpy video games, quite a few others. I haven't played them because I had such a negative experience with Vidiots that I avoided Ren and Stimpy video games from that point forward. Love the show, not the games. And the last game on the list is Chuck Rock. Now, back when I was 13, my brother was 11, he and I went to the local game store, the same game store that we got Super Alfred Chicken, and we picked up Chuck Rock. Now, I thought that it was Joe and Mac, because I didn't know the name of the Joe and Mac games. I just knew that it was like a caveman game, and I saw Chuck Rock, and I thought that it was Joe and Mac, so I got excited, because I had heard that Joe and Mac was good, and so I picked up Chuck Rock, and I was so excited, and I got home and popped it in, and my first question was, what the fuck is this? You play as some fat loser. Like, what the... Even my brother was like, what the fuck? So, yeah, I was disappointed. It's not Joe and Mac. It's fucking garbage. I'll admit that this game, and I haven't played it much. I beat the first level, but I've heard that this game actually isn't too bad. But I fucking hate it. This is a game that my brother and I would make fun of for years and years to come. And if there was a game that we thought kind of sucked, we'd always be like, at least it ain't Chuck Rock. Like, we'd always fucking shit on Chuck Rock. I just discovered a few years ago that Chuck Rock had a sequel on the Sega Genesis only. It was Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck, I think it was called. And that's actually a pretty good game. You play as Chuck Rock's infant child, which at first I was like, oh, what the fuck? This is gonna suck. It's actually not bad. You can hit enemies with a club rather than your big, fat, stupid stomach. The levels are fun to play through, and the graphics are also pretty good, so I would recommend Chuck Rock 2, not the first Chuck Rock. So there you have it, guys. Those are some Super Nintendo games that I just don't like. Why don't you tell me about some Super Nintendo games that you don't like? Leave it in the comments below. Please leave a like, please subscribe, and I'll see you next week.